a real estate investor who was an early champion of domestic partner benefits,
a blues musician who raises her voice to lift the spirits of the marginalized,
a leader who helped drive the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell,
a couple who broadcasts GLBT history around the world,
a stylist who's been at the forefront of his area's gay activism,
a political journalist who took her expertise to our nation's capital and beyond,
a woman who works tirelessly to make her corner of the mountains more GLBT friendly,
a trio of lesbians who have devoted their careers to ending violence against women.
Presenting Equality Virginia's Outstanding Virginians for 2011. In 2005, when Molly and her partner of 26 years, Irene Peterson, went to Canada to get married, they were planning a political action that was also personal. The idea was to return to Christiansburg, their quiet town in the Blue Ridge Mountains, as an even more visibly committed couple.
Christiansburg has been a great home base for Molly's efforts to change the world. With its proximity to Roanoke and Virginia Tech, she has organized community forums, held fundraisers, and arranged meetings with local elected officials.
She regularly writes commentaries and letters to the Roanoke Times.
She's on the board of a large charitable organization, the Montgomery County Christmas Store, and served on the County Democratic Committee for 5 years.
She and Irene have provided emergency foster care to nearly 40 children,
creating a strong sense of community for GLBT people living in Southwest Virginia. She has served on the executive committee of Roanoke Pride for a decade, including several years as its chair.
She was on the board of Equality Virginia for 6 years, including a term as president.
Molly's philosophy of volunteer service is simple.
You know, you don't think one person can make a difference. You're wrong. That's all that's ever made a difference.
When Don't Ask, Don't Tell died an overdue death last December, nobody could have been happier than Tom Field.
After college at Notre Dame, graduate school at Oxford, and law school at Harvard, Tom took a position in the U.S. Treasury's office to help draft the nation's tax laws.
When he left civil service in 1970, he founded Tax Analysts, a leading provider of tax news and analysis.
While he was president, Tom decided to provide health insurance for the live-in partners of GLBT employees. In 1985, the concept was groundbreaking.
When the state outlawed the practice, Tom contacted Virginians for Justice. He joined the board that succeeded in getting the domestic partner ban repealed.
A Korean War veteran who remained in the Army as a reservist, Colonel Tom Field saw up close the injustice behind Don't Ask, Don't Tell.
In 2005, Service Members Legal Defense Network created an advisory group of retired officers. Tom was named co-chairman last fall.
Needless to say, when DADT was reversed, it provided Tom sweet justice after 32 years of distinguished military service as a closeted gay man.
The world has changed for the better to an enormous degree. Yes, we have a long way to go, but we've come so far that it takes my breath away.
Until a few months ago, Klaus held one of the most influential staff positions in electoral politics, Senior Strategy Advisor to Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi.
During President-elect Obama's transition, she worked with Energy Secretary-designate Stephen Chu to help prepare him for Senate confirmation.
From Mark Warner's 2001 election as Virginia's governor to his decision not to run for the presidency in 2006, Ellen helped shape his image as a bipartisan, pragmatic statesman.
Ellen left government service in 2011 to establish her own strategic and communications consulting firm. She was also recently selected as a resident fellow at Harvard's Institute of Politics.
Throughout much of her adult life and career, Ellen has been out as a lesbian. Last year, she married her longtime Canadian girlfriend, Amanda, in Canada, where same-sex marriage has been legal since 2005.
A few weeks later, their marriage got a shout-out from Nancy Pelosi at a Victory Fund event.
When I come out to new friends or to coworkers or to neighbors, I still hear, "You're the first gay woman I've met," or "You guys are the first couple that we've really gotten to know." I just think about the simple power if all of us came out of how we could really change the world.
If you listen to Richmond Independent Radio, you know Judd Proctor and Brian Burns.
If you logged into the internationally syndicated shows This Way Out or I Am, Are You, you've probably heard their work.
Harvey Milk's legacy, coming up now on the Rainbow Minute.
Their creation, the Rainbow Minute, informs and entertains people around the world with 60-second stories on GLBT subjects.
Barbara Jordan, stateswoman and orator, coming up now on the Rainbow Minute.
Judd Proctor and Brian Burns have been committed partners since 1995, and they were upset about the political battles over gay marriage. So they decided to tell the untold or forgotten stories of GLBT people following the model of Dan Roberts' popular A Moment in Time.
Judd, who recently retired after 40 years as an elementary school teacher, is a board member of the National Education Association's GLBT caucus.
Brian, a former art director at the Martin Agency, takes the rough draft scripts and polishes them for broadcast.
The show aired internationally for the first time in 2006, and after 6 years on the air, it will soon broadcast its 1,000th episode.
The show's mission is to challenge stereotypes, instill compassion, and make the entire gay community even prouder of who they are.
These Minutemen are making their time count.
Mark Loewen, a fifth-generation son of the Wyoming Range, was destined to be a rancher until college and business school at Stanford turned him around. He ended up taking a job in Washington, D.C. in 1989.
Soon after, at the age of 24, he was tapped as a senior executive with Halprin's West Group, the largest landowner in Tyson's Corner. Under Mark's leadership, the company was sold last summer for nearly $500 million.
After the sale, Mark took his 22 years of D.C. area real estate experience to TRR Sotheby's International Realty, where he is now a managing partner. Mark was pleased to learn that 3 of the firm's 5 partners are gay.
During all of this, he's been one of Northern Virginia's major activists and philanthropists.
He also ensures that these organizations include and recognize his partner, Dr. Joseph Russo, a dentist. Together, they raised their twins, who were born in California, where Mark and Joe could register as domestic partners and both claim parentage rights.
During the debate in 2006 over the so-called marriage amendment, Mark and Joe hosted a gathering at their McLean home. The guest of honor was Governor Mark Warner.
Throughout his career, Mark has brought his expertise, influence, and philanthropy to help make Virginia a better place for us all.
For 5 years, these 3 women were co-directors of the Virginia Sexual and Domestic Violence Action Alliance, a coalition of nearly 1,000 agencies and individuals who share a vision, a world where relationships between people are respectful, healthy, and safe.
As a sociology major in the 1980s, Christy fell into domestic violence work during an internship at a Maryland shelter.
Having grown up in a family with both sexual and domestic violence, this work really resonated with me.
Ruth came to the field around the same time, doing a human services practicum at a homeless shelter in Petersburg.
Ruth and Christy met at a conference, and Christy offered Ruth a job in Williamsburg. A romance blossomed, and the two moved to the Northern Neck, where their 4 kids could get together on weekends.
By the early 90s, Christy and Ruth were co-directors of VADV.
When Janine called to interview for a job with VAASA, she asked if they would welcome an out lesbian. She was told that 2 lesbian partners were leading VADV.
4 years later, the organizations combined to form today's Action Alliance.
Under the women's leadership, the Alliance helped craft legislation to strengthen protections for victims, and they made sure that protections applied equally to partners in same-sex couples and to transgender individuals.
The alliance of this trio has given new meaning to the word action in Virginia.
If anyone ever writes a history of gay life in Norfolk, Mitch Rose's name will show up in every chapter.
Mitch was in Greenwich Village in 1969 when the Stonewall riots broke out. He remembers hiding in the bathhouse to avoid being beaten by the police.
In 1972, facing the likelihood of being drafted and sent to Vietnam, he enlisted in the Navy and was sent to Norfolk. At re-enlistment in 1981, when he refused to lie about his sexuality, Mitch had to leave the service.
Using the skills he had learned as a Navy barber, Mitch opened a hair salon in Norfolk. About that time, AIDS flu began to show up, and Mitch helped care for these patients.
In 1997, Interpride Coalition began operating as Hampton Roads Pride. Creating the popular Out in the Park event remains one of Mitch's proudest accomplishments.
He also took a struggling organization, Youth Out United, and helped relaunch it as Reaching Area Youth Now, RAIN.
Then, there's his involvement with the Hampton Roads Gay Men's Softball League, another home run.
Despite all of his accomplishments, Mitch almost declined this award. Then, when he realized what a great party the Commonwealth dinner was, he couldn't resist. Gay Adegbola lived in Harlem during the late 60s, where she married and gave birth to her son.
After a divorce, she returned to Fredericksburg, where she taught school for 18 years. She was named Virginia's Teacher of the Year in 1982.
Eventually, she became a full-time musician, touring with her trio, Sapphire, the Uppity Blues Women.
What you got, baby, is a bitch, ow, with a bad attitude, bad attitude. I need a young man to drive away my middle-aged blues. Tell him about it, Andra.
Her son Juno is now an accomplished musician himself and artistic collaborator with his mom.
Her GLBT-themed solo CD, Gay Without Shame, was a major milestone in her career and in queer music.
You know I'm here now and I'm queer now. You better get over it.
The Gay Without Shame CD takes the healing power of the blues to the queer community, and it brings queer themes and issues to the blues community.
Adegbola is a Yoruba name, which roughly translates to, I am reclaiming my crown. This Nubian queen has proudly claimed her queerness and continues her crowning career.